An important distinction to make is between entitlement and empowerment. Because that's the thing here, is a lot of people don't know their full potential here and what they're actually capable of. And we often find that out either somewhat naturally, and how, like, what gravitates our desires and our passions. And then some of that is discovered by trial and error and going through all kinds of interesting, different, obscure paths in life that end up with you discovering something, some hidden diamond inside of you. So innately, I guess it's good for us to understand what we are at base level, like innate, like who we are, and what our, for lack of a better term, what our divine birthright is as sentient beings. Like, what is asking too much? What is declaring too much as far as entitlement? And I guess on the extreme of entitlement, it can just go into narcissism, which is just all about me, the me monster, like, feed me, want me, where the whole world just revolves around them and no one else's needs or feelings are even perceived, really. It's just everything's an inconvenience to them. And most of us have had, at least at one time, a narcissist in our lives to encounter what that is like. And it's like, wow, what a world we live in. But it's good to distinguish the fine lines, I think, of what classifies entitlement and what is empowerment. So empowerment builds up those who are beaten down often and have forgotten who they are, and the rights as a sovereign being that they have to make choices, to have perceptions to see, to understand, to think for themselves, to know that they have a voice and can speak to their own experiences. And to go a little deeper, I'm kind of going back and forth in between entitlement and narcissism, and to go too deep, or in entitlement and narcissism versus empowerment is what I meant to say. And when you get too deep into narcissism, it's really hard to define, and things get really polarized as far as people's viewpoints on it. And I've had friends talk to me about this, about relevant things in the world, and I'm even afraid to talk about it and even post it on YouTube for how politically charged it is. And all these memes, all these political memes and stuff are all, it's like an egregore. It is an egregore, and it just lives in the minds of the people that like continue to propagate it. And I'm trying to think of some examples of this. It's on both sides politically, and I don't like to get into politics. I'm a pretty non-political person myself, although I would consider myself a humanitarian. Like I've said in the last video, I'm all about community, and if we can strengthen our small communities, it's a partnership society versus dominator society. And this is what Terrence McKenna talks about. And it's where the empowerment is within each community. And this is my little this is one of my little trinkets. I have lots of trinkets. I don't know if that's distracting, having that sway back and forth. So what was I talking about? I get distracted easily, as you can see. So I'm getting to what I'm talking about, which I'm very hesitant to talk about as an example. But it's something I've talked to lots of friends about, and it's quite polarized, especially for people that don't understand it. But here we go. It's the whole trans movement, and what that is that's come about, and what I've heard from people who've had death experiences is like those kind of people that they've encountered have lived past lives of the other gender, and they want to try a new gender in a new lifetime, but it ends up just, it's hard for them to make the switch. It's more comfortable for them to stay in the one that they're used to over time. But a lot of my straight friends, even some of my gay friends, are really like, anyone's afraid to touch that with any of their opinions, but we all hold opinions on it, and anyone that has a nuanced opinion on it is usually labeled a transphobe. And when you think about phobia, it's where you're scared of it, and I'm not denying that doesn't exist. There is transphobia out there. People are afraid of what they don't know. That's what it comes down to, and it scares them because these people are messing with things they don't understand, as far as when they actually do the slicing and dicing on themselves. And you're making a powerful decision for yourself, for your body, and that it's like identifying as a certain thing. Do you really have to change your biological makeup to identify as that thing, to really feel that way? I mean, I guess that's the prerogative of the individual. Personally, like, I only understand so much of that. I've been of the mentality I could go either way. It's like I could be, I could work with being a male or a female. I would just enjoy the perks. If I was a female, I'd enjoy the perks of being a female, and also try to have that balance in between masculine and feminine energy. And, you know, if you're a female, like, it's like the feminine energy succeeds the masculine and kind of the yin and yang. Or like there's another term for it, the animus and the animus. So I guess the animus is the male part of the female, and the anima is the female part of the male, from what I hear. But going into pulling that into either entitlement or empowerment, we can have a choice to do anything in free will. So I don't want to knock people and their choices, but a lot of people I've talked to, they see it more as a mental illness. Kind of like any one of us that has chosen a certain thing. Like, maybe I identify as a rock star, but I'm not a made musician where I'm getting sponsored by like Fender and like unboxing a new guitar in front of the camera and like, oh, this is this new thing, you know. I could totally do that, and but it's like, just because I identify as a certain thing, it doesn't mean like that thing is real in my life. That hasn't become real for me just because you identify with something. And this could be really triggering. I should put a trigger warning on this video. This is just people's opinions. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, just to clarify, for anyone that might be just ready to just fucking slay me right now. I'm talking about just conversations I've had with other people, and I think it can verge on narcissism. But of course, not all of them are. It's like people don't know what's going on, and they're just trying to make things work for them. But it could be seen as a mental illness, and there isn't anything wrong with that either. I struggle with mental illness. I have my whole life, in my own ways, not in that way. Just pining over things, relationships that didn't work and stuff. You just pine over them for so long. And so many people think in order to learn, it has to be through trial and error and the difficult way. And I go against the grain in that way. I'm like, no, that is not my choice. There is a healthy way to learn. And sometimes I wonder if I don't consent to the modality of this matrix, and I never accomplish the things this matrix is trying to get me to accomplish by traumatizing me and just trial and error. All those things. That's not the way. There's a better way. Or maybe I just have a fantastical imagination. But the way I see it conceptually, if you can have that imagination and conceptually bring it into light and manifest it, if it can be imagined, it can exist in my world, in my imagination, I guess you could say. So, I mean, sure, it would be nice if we were like, I don't know if you've ever played the Zelda games, but or like Super Smash Brothers, which I used to play the GameCube a lot, and I really like that. And it's how Zelda could turn into Sheik. And I always thought that'd be cool if we had a version of us of each gender, and we could just like transform on a whim, like just magically have our other body, like the version of us that's the other gender. I always thought that would be cool. But this world is so freaking limited, and it's hard to know what's like. It's like a lot of things are cringe to people, and then it's like those people who are stigmatized by the cringe, they feel stigmatized as an outsider, and so that's where that transphobia comes in or whatever. And yeah, maybe it is a fear, but it's also a perspective, and people orient themselves in different ways around their identity. But all I'm saying is it doesn't have to be, you don't have to take it to the physical level, because you aren't actually going to achieve like truly what it is to be born as the other gender. So it's kind of it's perceived to many people as it's like you're not really, if you choose to switch over, it doesn't seem like there's very many people that have that switch go for them pretty well as far as the different body parts and anatomy that make up. Like, it's hard to switch is what I'm saying. That's a bold move. That's a bold move to make that decision for the rest of your life. The closest I've come to that is getting a vasectomy. And one thing I didn't realize until afterwards is there is something powerfully erotic about knowing you can procreate and impregnate someone. And when that's gone, yeah, it becomes more like just a fun kind of psychedelic experience, erotica. And this is a special part of being human that we get to imbibe in. And it's so hard to talk about entitlement and empowerment. That's why it's good, I think, to break out of the taboo of it all and have healthy conversations around it and try to understand what's going on. Because there's these memes that propagate out of our lives, and are ideas. Yeah, I'd be interested to just look in the dictionary and see the definition of empowerment and the definition of entitlement and how they vary versus how we define those things, because they seem very adjacent, but it depends on what you think is, just a human right to have as an individual, an innate right, or whether it's you're imposing yourself in an unnatural way upon your society and expect them to deliver for you. I guess, I don't know. I'm kind of just pontificating about this on the spot right now. But empowerment is understanding who we are as an individual and as sovereign beings, what we should be, how we should identify ourselves, and what are our human rights, and as individuals, and how far if we can go with that. Because there seems to be both sides where people get either overly entitled or they abase themselves, which means they're like, oh, I'm just a little, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I just trust God, and, I'm just glad to be saved by the grace of the Lord and all that. And I know I'm kind of being derogatory, but I grew up with that, and I was that way, and that's why I'm kind of making fun of it, because to me that's just giving away your faith to an ideology and reducing yourself to what that says you are, and what that what that model depicts us as our roles here in life. So we'll have further discussions about it, and I want to have discussions about memes, which are ideas passed along and replicated. It's like a virus. Is a meme alive? It's only alive through us and in us, but it's an idea that's passed along, and it's a thing of consciousness. It's if there wasn't the meme of, oh god, I'm trying to think of a good meme. There's so many thousands of memes and I can't think of one right now. I should have come prepared with a good meme here. I don't know, like the meme of positivity, I guess. There's a really basic meme for you. Whereas if you're a positive person, you'll attract positive things. If you're a negative person, you're going to attract negative things. And that's another disposition of this reality that I don't know about. There is the whole thing where attention goes, energy flows, right? There's a meme where attention goes, energy flows. So I guess I'm speaking in a lot of memes. And when you speak to a meme or bring up a meme, it paints a picture so people know what you're talking about. It's like the thread and the needle of consciousness, like the long division of consciousness, instead of like it's consciousness in imagery, I guess is a good way to say it. Because if you can show someone what you mean instead of tell them what you mean, it translates in a greater way, obviously. So there's lots to be said on the matter, and maybe we'll do a second video on it. My videos have been like 20 minutes lately, and it's kind of a lot for people to get through. I haven't even really watched any of my own videos, because but anyways, let's open a discussion about it. Let's talk about this kind of thing, and it doesn't have to be cringe.